Really quickly, I did just want to remind you guys that you can still use my creator code on both the EA app and the Sims.com. Currently, there is a huge sale on lots of Sims DLCs. I think it ends December 4th, so if you're in the market for a new pack, I feel like now is a really good time to get your hands on it. If you use code Jessicapie at checkout, it helps directly support me and my channel and all the builds that I make, as I do earn a small commission fee from your purchase. Please don't ever feel pressured to buy packs just to use my creator code. Just you watching this video is enough support within itself, but if you did want to get your hands on some new DLCs and you did use my code, I would love you dearly. If you didn't want to use my code, I do highly suggest that you do use someone's. A lot of your favourite creators now have codes, and if you use their code, you can support them as well. But I did just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has used my code so far. It's such a lovely feeling knowing that you thought of me when you purchased your Sims packs. It's such a heartwarming gesture. And yeah, if you have used my code before, thank you so much. But because I mentioned this, I did just want to mention that this portion of the video is sponsored by Electronic Arts. But anyway, let's get into the video. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to a Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video, I'm going to be building in the world of Mount Komorebi, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack of Sims 4 Snowy Escape, and I'm going to be building a quite big and quite luxurious mountain lodge. So this house ends up having 5 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms, and it's built on a 50 by 50 lot. Now, if you're curious where I'm building, the original lot name is always in the top left corner of the screen. I just always leave it there as a bit of a benchmark, so if you're curious and you watch any of my videos, you can always use it as some sort of reference point. But where I'm building in the world of Snowy Escape, there's this one lot, the one that I'm building on, and by default, when you go into a brand new save file, it's kind of disguised because the area of the map that I'm building in, it's 24/7 snowy. Like, this area, it's never sunshine, it's never like, you can never see the floor. There's always snow on the floor. And with that, on the map view, I found that it was really hard to identify that there is actually a really big lot up here. It's a 50 by 50, and by default, it's just got a ton of trees. And so I feel like a lot of people might not even know that this lot exists in the game, but yeah, no, it does. But for the longest time, I have wanted to sit down and build a really luxurious mountain lodge when Sims go on like skiing and snowboarding holidays. And yeah, this week I sat down and I built just that, and I'm really happy and also really proud of this build, because if I'm being honest, I have attempted to build this kind of thing an embarrassing amount of times before in the game, and I've just never been happy with it. Like, I've just never loved it, and if I don't love it, I don't want to share it because I'm just not proud of it. Do you know what I mean? And so I've spent so much time beforehand building on this lot and bulldozing it, and this week I came in and I started building and I didn't stop. And yeah, I'm so happy with it, and so I really hope you like it as well. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. Currently, I'm just coming in and pretty much just finishing up the roof line for this house. The way that I'm doing the roofing over here, by the way, it might seem a little bit like nitpicky, like doing it this way, but basically I wanted there to be a room inside of where I placed down that little like high-pitched roof. But I knew if I was to put down a triangular roof piece and then drag it the whole way across, then when it came around to figure out the floor plan, it would just interfere with it, and then the roof would be coming into the inside of the room, and it's just, I don't like that for gameplay because I just find it personally a little bit annoying. So I did the roof line a little bit strange, but I mean, it works out. But you can see that now I'm just coming in and figuring out the wallpapering for this build. Now, I will say, when I was building this, I did use a reference picture as kind of like a inspiration, a little bit of like a starting point. I'll find the picture for you and I'll pop it up on the screen so you can have a little look. And it's funny because I don't think this house ends up looking anything like it. The original picture has pretty much all white paneling with a few different like wooden beam details, like oak panel details at the front of it. I, as you can see, went for a completely different colour scheme, but then also just the way that the house looks, instead of having like a really big window and have it be on like one flat wall, I decided to do it on a diagonal. Now, where I've attempted to build this kind of thing so many different times in the game, over time I've kind of like collected a bunch of different photos of very expensive looking mountain lodges in the mountains, and something that I noticed throughout some of them is they do have quite a lot of like diagonal pieces like this. And so instead of doing like that front wall and having basically like a completely flat bit at the front, I thought, well, why don't I do like a nice little triangle bit and make it almost like a feature of the build? You can see that I'm currently just playing around with it now, trying to figure out how I was actually going to get the diagonal to work, especially with the roofline as well, because building on a diagonal is a bit tricky, but then also when it comes around to roofing a diagonal, it's a bit of a different ball game. And so I decided the way that I was going to do it is that the main like triangular or like diagonal bit, I'd place down these windows on the first 2 floors, and then on the upper portion I built a wall, and initially I placed down the same windows that I used on the lower levels, and then I decided, well, it might be quite nice to have some sort of spandrel connecting the windows together. But then for the height of the windows that I originally used, you couldn't even see the spandrels, and so you would have just seen I deleted the original windows that I put up there and replaced them with some similar looking windows, but they're a little bit smaller, and they're the ones that are from the Snowy Escape expansion pack. And then with that, I just extended the roof line eaves out. The way that you do that, by the way, if ever you want to extend eaves out on just like one side of the roof line, if you hold down shift and then you use a little arrow key, it will extend the eaves, but only on the side that you're putting the eaves from. Hopefully that makes sense. I do it a few different times in this build, so you'll see it like throughout the whole building process. But yeah, I just extended the eaves out and then yeah, just put a column to make it look like some sort of support structure thing. The columns are a little bit useless in a way, because the way that Sims 4 works, you don't actually need a column to be supporting anything. If you really wanted to, you could quite literally build a house floating in the middle of the air with no like support underneath it, and the game mechanics would just like let you do that. It's if you build it on a second height and you delete the first floor. But yeah, for like support stuff, you don't really need it, but I feel like it looks a bit off balance, and I wanted there to be some sort of support structure in place. And so yeah, I just popped down some spandrels to make it look like it was holding the roof up. But something as well that I wanted to mention about the roofing in this build, I used a really thick roof trim. Now in the Sims 4 base game, we've got a number of different roof trims by default, and normally I always use this same one. Might change the colour a bit. Sometimes I might use like a grey roof trim depending on the build, or a brown one or something, but I always use pretty much the same just base game bog standard one. But where I'm building in the snow and there's white stuff everywhere, I found like it was really hard to kind of see where the roof line almost finishes. Like I didn't know where it ended, and so I thought, well, if I use a really thick roof trim, that way it's kind of a bit of a bigger area to be able to identify, and then that way if you zoom out you can actually see where the roof line finishes, if that makes any sense. And also the roof pattern, I couldn't really see what I was doing, and so off camera, don't worry, I made sure to go around and place down this black roof tile through every single piece of roofing. I think I must have placed it down onto every single piece at least 3 or 4 times, just to make sure that there is a roof pattern on it, because again, I'm building in the snow. By default you can't actually see the roof pattern, but just in case you want to pop this build in maybe like Willow Creek or Oasis Springs, yeah, I made sure to go through and make sure that the whole entire roof is covered. You can't even see it, but it's a black roof tile. The one that I've used is from the Snowy Escape expansion pack. Well, actually, I say you can't see it. You might have noticed when I was doing the roof line, I popped in some little bump outs just to add a little bit more something, just to give it a little bit more oomph in a way, because I felt like the roof was just so triangular, and so I just added in some bump outs. But in that bump out section, I kind of like built a room underneath it, and then that way some of the snow had kind of like disappeared off the tip of the roof line, and so you can kind of see the roof tile a little bit there. But I was more so thinking maybe the heating has melted the snow or something. It made it look nicer in my opinion. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I'm now coming in and figuring out the floor plan for this build. Now I know it probably looks like I did this piece of cake, but please be rest assured I am not that good at floor plans. This took me so long to figure out. Honestly, I must have spent like 2, maybe even longer hours just trying to figure out the floor plan of this house, because it's colossal, like it's absolutely massive. And I wanted this build to be almost like the ultimate like party holiday for if your Sims want to go like skiing or snowboarding or something. And I wanted there to be all these different number of rooms dedicated to certain things, and just the way the floor plan panned out. Yeah, if you saw that and you was thinking, hang on, you did that really quickly, I did it off camera a few different times until I actually finally got it. And then, yeah, in the end, ends up being still quite big on the inside, but a good portion of the first floor, which is kind of what I made to look like the basement, I did block off with some platforms just because it was a little bit of like unnecessary area that I didn't really want to use. But in total, like I said, there ends up being 5 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms in this build. But then alongside that, I tried to make it so there is multiple different rooms on the inside, but then also kind of on the outside, like outside areas that kind of revolve around skiing and like a ski holiday. Now, with the Snow Escape expansion pack, a good portion, I think anyway, of the gameplay kind of revolves around winter sports and things that your Sims could do in the winter time. I say that you can't build like a ski resort in Windenburg and have it be functional. Your Sims be able to go skiing in that world. But the area that I'm building in Mount Komorebi, your Sims quite literally, they could be, say for example, inside cooking everyone dinner. Say if you wanted to bring a family here or something, they could be cooking dinner. Whereas you could still have control of the rest of the household, but they could be on the skiing slopes. The way that this world was built, the area that your Sims would do like skiing or snowboarding or even like rock climbing is kind of in the neighbourhood itself. You don't load into a lot. So if you really wanted to, you could have like 10 Sims visit here and some of them be in the inside of this house whilst getting the other Sims to do other bits and bobs. That's why I wanted to build this mountain lodge here, because for gameplay you don't have to go through that many loading screens to be able to actually participate in the winter activities. But yeah, with the Snow Escape expansion pack, we've got a number of different winter sports related things, but then also we got the introduction for your Sims to be able to use a hot springs. Now we did get a new lot type to go along with the hot springs like activity, if you want to call it that. It kind of looks like a bit of a big jacuzzi or a bit of a miniature pool that kind of gets all bubbly and a bit hot and a bit steamy. But I have previously built an onsen bathhouse. It is a neighbouring lot to this one, so if at any point you might see like a little bit of a roof line or something, that is an onsen bathhouse that I built when, yeah, the Snow Escape expansion pack first came out. I'm pretty sure that was my first ever build with it. But where the onsen bathhouse was quite a big thing as well for the gameplay of this EP, I made sure that in this build, where it is quite big, quite luxurious and quite fancy, that yeah, there would be a hot springs downstairs or like a little bit of a miniature bathhouse downstairs in the basement. But I will get on shortly and give you a bit of a rundown and kind of a bit of an overview of all the different areas in this build, because alongside the onsen bathhouse, I end up having like an actual spa as well in this build and like a gym, and just there is so much in this build because it is absolutely colossal, it's massive, but I wanted it to feel so luxurious. Like I can really picture Sims that have so much money coming here on like a winter vacation or something. But I'll get on shortly and tell you about that. But currently I want to talk about what I'm doing, and that is I'm trying to make it look like there is some sort of built-in pool into a little bit of like a mountain or kind of like a rock area. Now where I'm building in like the snowy area or like the snowy neighbourhood of Mount Komorebi, I knew beforehand coming in that when it came around to landscaping it might be a bit difficult because 24/7, like I said, like it is always snow here. There's always snow on the floor, there's snow on the roof, there's snow on the trees and landscaping. It's completely covered 24/7. Even it could be 4th of July and it could be sun shining in Willow Creek. You come here and it's just permanent snow. But I love it. Like I do really like this feature of the world where the snow is just consistently on the floor, because even though it does make building a little bit tricky sometimes, I just think the snow in the game is just so beautiful, and especially the way that sometimes it kind of like covers certain objects when you place them down. But I knew coming in beforehand that landscaping would be a bit tricky because a lot of the plants in the winter months act as if they're dead. Like they don't have any flowers on them. You might be able to see a few different like roots and a few different branches, but for the most part landscaping in the winter months in the game can be quite tricky. And so I thought, well, why don't I make it so there's a massive like lake which is frozen over, but then also there is a pool on the upper level which has some sort of like infinity waterfall. Now the way that I kind of started off this area, you would have seen I just made the little pond area, which if you build in the winter months, by default when you add the water in, the water's frozen. I just think that looks so pretty, didn't you agree? Like it just looks so nice with all the different like little cracks in the pond or something. But I started off by placing down this little like terrain area, and then I added some water so I could actually see where I'd placed down a bit of a hill, because again, building in the winter, it can be quite difficult to actually see what you're doing. But I built the pond, and then I was thinking, well, I'd like the pool on the upper level to maybe be on a little bit of a diagonal, where almost like the front feature of the build, where that big like window section with the spandrels and the columns is on a diagonal. I thought having the pool on the diagonal would kind of makes sense, like it follows with the symmetry of the build. It made sense in my mind. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but basically I thought, well, I'll build the pool on a little bit of a diagonal, and then I'll use this waterfall thing that we got from the Island Living Live edit menu. It was basically this thing. I've pulled it out and it's currently on the other side of the screen, but basically from the Island Living expansion pack, we've got a waterfall in the live edit menu. And so what I did is I pulled it out to start off with, and I kind of placed it up against a diagonal wall so I could kind of get the bearings for how big I needed to make the pool. I then pulled it away, built the pool, and then I came back and then basically just cluttered it up with a ton of different rocks, and then re-added in the waterfall feature. This waterfall, it's lovely, and it does fall. Wait, no, it does. There's action, there's movement, there's no motion, that's the word I was looking for, but in gameplay you'll notice that it does like trickle down, like there is movement with this waterfall. But the one thing, or actually no, the two things that I don't like about it is, one, it can be a little bit fiddly, because sometimes if you place down something a little bit too close to it, it freaks out and it just deletes itself. But then also you can't size it down, and so that is why initially I kind of like built that wall so I could kind of get the bearings for how big I needed to make the upstairs pool, and then I removed it away because then I kind of had an idea of how big I needed to actually make it, because unfortunately you cannot size down them waterfalls. But yeah, I just basically went in, placed down a ton of different rocks around it, and some of the rocks that I've used, they have like icicle things like dangling off them. All of the rocks are from the Snowscape expansion pack. I was very conscious when I was placing down the rocks to make sure to use one that is from that DLC, just because they're already in the world itself, and so they're not going to stick out like a sore thumb. But yeah, some of them that I placed down have like little icicles coming off them, and I thought, well, it's by a waterfall, maybe some of them freeze over time. And so yeah, I placed them down, and then I re-added the waterfall item back in, but then I re-added a second one to kind of like layer it so it looks like a little bit of a bigger waterfall. But yeah, it was actually really simple to do. I feel like it looks really fiddly, but I promise you it's actually not. The most difficult thing about it, to be honest, is probably making sure that it just doesn't delete itself, which if it does ever delete itself, by the way, I found that a lot of the time it will just go into a household's inventory rather than just completely removing the object. So you don't have to like go and re-find it if you took like ages to try and find it. Normally it just does delete into your household's inventory, but yeah, just like a little heads up if you want to do something in your builds. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now actually come in and started placing down some furniture. We're actually starting to furnish this build. Now, on the outside areas, I wanted this build to be very luxurious, wanted it to be very fancy, but I also really wanted to focus on almost like a friend holiday element of it, which that sounds really weird, and I feel like I need to explain that. But when I was building this, I was more so imagining that the kind of Sims that would come to visit here would be like a big group of friends coming on a ski holiday. And so the outdoor activities, I tried to make sure to include a bar or hot tub. I made sure that there was a big dining area. We also do have a swimming pool, which even though the swimming pool does have some like rocks merged into it, it still is functional. I've got my sim to play test it. I've got my sim to play test this whole entire lot. I ran into two small, like little minuscule problems, which when I move over, I will mention it just so you know what they are. It's honestly it's the smallest thing in the world. But I have play tested it, and yeah, your Sims can still swim in the swimming pool. I then also end up placing down a ping pong table, as well as a few different fire pit areas. I placed down a fire pit at the front, kind of like balcony, where you kind of walk up the front door. I placed down some single armchairs over there. But then in the back portion, with the Lovestruck expansion pack, you can now get Sims to sit on a bench outside and cuddle with a partner, or, you know, someone that they just met on the Sims version of Tinder. What's it called? Cupid's Corner, forgot it then. But you can get your Sims to sit on a love seat and cuddle and watch the stars. And where we're in such a beautiful area of the world, I thought I'm going to do just that. And so yeah, I placed down some love seats. So if your Sims want to, they can have a little cuddle with their partner and watch the stars of an evening. But moving over and actually getting on and telling you about what is on the inside of this build. Now, in just a second, I am going to move on into the inside, and you're going to see me like furnish the inside hallway, and then also kind of like a little cloakroom where I imagine that the Sims that would come on vacation here would keep all of their skin equipment, but I didn't want to speak over it too much. But to be honest, it's just a little bit of like a closet, if you want to put it that way, by the front door. But yeah, on the inside of this build, like I said, it's got 5 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms. We've got a massive kitchen. We've got quite a fancy main living area. We have like 3 different entertainment rooms in this build. We have 2 on the level that I'm filming right now, but then we also have 1 entertainment area downstairs. The downstairs entertainment area has like a bubble blower and like a random like dance floor and bookcases and just random bits and bobs for your Sims to do. But then also downstairs in the basement, we have a massive gym. We have like a weightlifting section and then kind of like a cardio section. But then just off the cardio section, I say cardio, I try to like section it up, because you know sometimes if you go to the gym, sometimes you might want to lift heavy weights, but then sometimes you want to do more like cardio focused stuff, and so it will more be like treadmill or run machine or step machine or something. And so I tried to split the gym up purely because, if I'm being honest, I had so much space to work with. But yeah, we have a massive gym, and then off the cardio section we have a yoga studio, so if your Sims want to, they could come on vacation here with all their mates and yeah, maybe hire a yoga instructor. But we also have a spa downstairs, as well as some changing rooms, some showers, and then I think 2 different saunas. But that is all on the downstairs level, kind of like the basement portion, if you want to put it that way, of this build. But currently over here, as you can see, I've now moved over and started decorating almost like the dining room, but then kind of could be the 4th entertainment area. I love this section of the build so much, and if I'm being honest, before I came in and I started furnishing, I was honestly a little bit nervous because, and I don't know if anyone else gets this way, but sometimes when I build something and I love it so much already from just the exterior, I get a little bit worried that when it moves on and I actually start furnishing, I'm not going to make it as good as what the outside is. Hopefully you understand what I mean. But yeah, coming into it furnishing this build, I was a little bit worried that I wasn't going to do it justice and it wasn't going to be the same like luxurious effect as what the outside does. But once I did this little like dining room, almost kind of like a little bar situation, I was just getting so excited to furnish the rest of the build. But the way that this area kind of is placed in the floor plan, you walk in through the front door, you've got a staircase on your right hand side, you've got one that goes upstairs, that's how you like access that area of the house, and then we have one that goes downstairs, and that's how you get into the basement. But then you also have a staircase which is a little bit smaller and it's right in front of you. The way that I did the floor plan for this build is quite open plan, but I sectioned it off with loads of different platforms and like miniature staircases, so even though it is very open, it feels a little bit more closed off and like cozy, if you know what I mean. But you walk up these little steps and we've got this massive dining room table. The dining room table itself is just from base game, but then I decided to pair it with these chairs that are from the Eco Lifestyle expansion pack. Rarely ever use them because I always think must be quite uncomfortable if you sit on them for like a long duration of time. Like, I just feel like my bum would hurt after a while if I sit on them for too long. But I use the ones that we got from Eco Lifestyle, and then you might have seen on like the centre of the table, I tried to make almost like a little candle tray. Now for this build, and you might notice this as we go throughout all the different furnishings, but I've really tried to hold back on the clutter for this one because I'm thinking this is a rental property. I am personally picturing your Sims and a group of friends would come on holiday and they would go skiing, they would go rock climbing, they would use the hot springs and stuff, and they're going to be renting this out as some sort of rental space rather than it be someone's holiday home. Of course, if you wanted to, you could download this build, and if you fancy, your Sims could live here full time. But the way that I tried to approach the interior furnishings, I really didn't want to overpower it. Like, I didn't want to do too much. And so when I was doing the dining room table, normally I would add a big bouquet of flowers in the middle, I'll add some candlesticks, I'll add like loads of little different bits and bobs. But I was thinking, no, don't do that. This is a rental. It's not going to have all them different personalised clutter pieces. So I placed down a plant that we got from Eco Lifestyle. It's kind of like 2 different vases put together. And then the table still looked a little bit bare. And so I thought, I'll pop down a candle. But then, yeah, I decided to make a little candle tray for it. The way that I did it is I just used this little slab that we got from Spa Day, merged it into the table by moving it up with a 9 key and then sizing it down, pop in some little wooden planks either side, and then, yeah, just popped the candle in it to make it look like a fancy little tray for the candle. Maybe it's one of them really expensive candles. I don't know why that would warrant it having a little tray on a dining room table, but sometimes people do have like a little surface for a candle to sit on. And yeah, like I said, I wanted the decorations and kind of like the clutter to be to a more minimum approach for this build. I wanted there to still be clutter, like it's still fully decorated, but more of a thoughtful and everything it's kind of got like its own purpose kind of idea. Hopefully you're following along with me. But also in the dining room, quickly, as you would have seen, I placed down that really big 3 tile, well, it's actually technically 4 tiles, but it's a massive bar and it's a little bit curvy. You might have noticed behind it, I placed down a side table and I placed down some more of them slabs onto the side table, and then I popped on a little drinks tray. Basically, the side table that I've used, it looks like some sort of cart, and I'm personally picturing when your Sims would have dinner parties, they'd probably hire some help to come and like tend to them and, you know, go and get their food from the kitchen and stuff, and maybe they would have it on that little cart. But the cart that I've used, it's got a mirror on the top portion, and I didn't like the look of it, and so I tried to merge in them same slabs that I tried to create the little candle tray. But then when I was playtesting, that was one of the 2 things that wasn't functional. For some reason, the Spa Day slabs were making it so your Sims couldn't interact with the drinks tray that I popped onto it, and so in the end I did have to delete it. But to be honest, really didn't make any difference because I placed down a tray over the mirrored portion of the side table so you couldn't even see it, and initially I only placed down the slabs to kind of cover it over. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the kitchen. Now the kitchen, even though it's absolutely colossal, probably one of the biggest kitchens I've ever furnished, is very short and sweet. Like, it really took me no time to furnish this because, again, going back to, I really didn't want to over clutter this rental property, and so I decided to go for the Jungle Adventure kitchen counters and then match it with an oven that we got from a Life and Death EP, and then 2 fridges that we got from Home Chef Hustle. I then did also place down a bunch of different kitchen appliances to kind of use as clutter pieces. I placed down a microwave, I placed down a hot pot, I placed down 2 kitchen sinks. In my head, right, I was thinking one could be like a wash your hands sink, and then the other one could be like a wash your fruit and vegetables sink. I have some custom content of this kind of thing, and I just feel like rich people would just have 2 sinks in their kitchen, and I picture the Sims that would visit here, they've got money. And so, yeah, I placed down 2 kitchen sinks, and then I also placed down the really fancy coffee maker that we got from the Get Together expansion pack. I nearly said Get Famous then. Honestly, we've got so many different expansion packs at this point, and a lot of them have Get in the name, and so it's really confusing. But I placed down the coffee bean grinder, and on the other side of the kitchen where your Sims can make like Americanos or espressos or pre-workout shots, all these different kind of coffees from, yeah, this really fancy coffee machine. I just feel like you're in the mountains, you're going to go skiing every single day, definitely going to want to have a nice cup of coffee, but then also it feels a little bit more luxury rather than just having like a bog standard kettle or, you know, just like a coffee making machine that only does one type of coffee. And so, yeah, I placed down a really fancy one. But over here, as you can see, I'm currently coming in and decorating the lounge room. Now, this is kind of like the first entertainment room, and to be honest, it's probably the most boring one out of all of them. I feel like I'm being a bit harsh on this room. It's lovely. I do really like it. I like the way that I decorated it. Currently, I'm trying to make it look like these little coffee mugs are sitting on coasters, which is actually just a little side table, which I sized down really small and, yeah, popped the coffee mugs on. But it's the most boring because there's the least amount of gameplay in this room. We've got 3 3-seater sofas, we've got 2 different bookcase walls, we've also got a fireplace and then a telly. I think I do also end up placing down some logs in the corner as like a little bit of decoration, and then a plant, and then also maybe an armchair. But yeah, in terms of like activities for your Sims to do, it's the most boring one because it's got the least amount of stuff in here, but at least your Sims can watch telly in this build. To saying that, actually, to be fair, 2 or potentially even 3 of the bedrooms do also have a TV facing the bed, so of a night time, after skiing all day, your Sims can pop off to bed and pop a film on to, yeah, fall asleep to or something. But now moving over, I've now moved on to the next entertainment room, and this one's got a little bit more sauce to it. Like, it's actually got a little bit more substance. So in here I placed down the grand piano. I was more so thinking this would be kind of like a music entertainment section. So maybe your Sims want to have a party and invite all the locals over and also hire someone to play the piano. A lot of the rooms I did try and make quite entertainment based, apart from that initial lounge room that you just saw. But yeah, going back to when I was building this, I was more so imagining a big group of friends would come on vacation here rather than like a big family. Of course, if you wanted to, you could get your Sims to come on holiday with their family and like their mum and their dad and nan and granddad and whoever. There is one kid's bedroom upstairs, but it's the only space in the build that I kind of placed down kid-related activities because I really was more so thinking young adults would come on vacation here. But like always, if ever you download any of my builds for gallery, if you maybe decide that you want to change something, feel free to. And also, it's meant to be a rental property. If you fancy, you can literally just download this and get your Sims to live in here full time. Like, there's no rules to say that it has to be a rental. But yeah, in all the different spaces, I try to make them feel very entertainment based. And so in that room, I placed down a grand piano, I placed down 2 armchairs, another bar, and then also an invisible dance floor, which I popped underneath the fluffy rug. Basically, in gameplay, if you want to, you can click on that and you can get your Sims to dance. But currently, moving over, I'm decorating a laundry room. I'm always in 2 minds whenever I build rental properties if I should make it include a washing machine and a tumble dryer, because I feel like when you go on holiday, at least me personally, I don't know what you're like, but I don't do my washing until I get home. Like, I'm not taking parcel in my suitcase whenever I pop off on holiday. I just would wait until I get home. But to be honest, for this build, there was just kind of like the perfect placement for there to be like a little half bath laundry utility room situation. You know, I said that there is 5 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms. This is the half bit. So it is the only main like downstairs bathroom that everyone can use. There is another one on this level, but it's connected to one of the bedrooms. All the other bathrooms in this property are ensuite bathrooms. So all your Sims mates and all your Sims family members have their own little like toilet space when they come on holiday. But yeah, I just didn't know how to decorate that downstairs bathroom by the kitchen if I didn't make it into a utility room. But again, if you want to, you can change that if you don't want to play with laundry. But you can see that I've now moved over and I've basically revisited the kitchen. Going back to when I first initially decorated this room, it really took me no time at all, and that's because I tried to use kitchen appliances as the clutter and it was all right, but then I was just looking at it and it was a little bit too empty for my liking, and so I just shoved some books in the corner and like a little 2-bowl decoration that we got from Fort Rent and just called it a day there. But something that I did do in the kitchen, which I completely spoke over, and I know it's not currently on the screen, but I was really happy with it. You might have seen I did this little column bit with some spandrels, and then off the spandrels I made it look like there was all these different bottles of wine. Again, going back to, I imagine that this is a proper party rental. Like, your Sims are coming here to have a party, to also do a little bit of skiing, but mainly as like a winter holiday destination for their friends. And yeah, we've got this like hanging ceiling decoration from the Cozy Bistro kit. It's got all these different bottles of red wine or white wine. It looks like red wine to me, but I placed it down on the little spandrel bit and I just really liked the way it looked. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the first bedroom of this build, and I'm currently coming in and decorating the bathroom. Now, I say the first bedroom of this build, and then you can see me placing down a bathtub. Basically, the way that I did this first initial room, I made it so it's kind of like you walk in through the bedroom door, and then you've got a hallway. And even though the hallway is technically a hallway, it's like a hallway going down to where the bed is. I tried to make it feel a little bit fancy, basically, but you go in through this door, and it goes into the ensuite bathroom. Now, like always, I only ever show you the furnishing for one bathroom because bathrooms to watch being furnished again and again and again, it's quite boring. And normally, whenever I do bathrooms, if there's multiple in a house, I will just always decorate them the same. Because I'm thinking, if you get your bathroom done, and you've got another bathroom, and you've got the funds to get both of them done at the same time, you're going to go for the same floor tiles and the same decorations. And so, yeah, that is pretty much my approach to bathrooms. And so, this is the only one that you're going to see, but hopefully it gives you an idea of what the others look like. Quickly though, before I turn the camera, I want to mention something that I did on the bathroom sink. I sized down a nappy bag right next to the sink. I was thinking, sometimes when you go on holiday and you might take like a little toiletries bag and it's got like your deodorant, your body wash, shampoo, conditioner. If you use a razor, your razor, moisturiser, your skincare bits and bobs. I was basically thinking, well, maybe someone has moved into this bedroom and maybe the other bedrooms haven't unpacked themselves yet. But basically when I was decorating that bathroom, I thought, well, what do we have in the game that could kind of act like a toiletry bag? Remembered that fairly recently we got the Storybook nursery kit and there's a diaper bag or a nappy bag. I call it nappy, but some people call it diaper, but same gist. I basically thought, why not size one down and then pop it onto the bathroom sink? Really happy with that idea. I've never done that before, but then again, we've only recently got the Storybook nursery kit. But yeah, to me, it just looks like someone's toiletry bag that they've taken on holiday with them. But either way, moving over, you can see that I'm now coming in and decorating the first initial bedroom. So this is the only one on this level, but it's a little bit fancy in a way. I wouldn't say that this is the master suite, but it's probably like the second to the master suite. It's got 2 walk-in wardrobes either side, this little staircase where you walk down. Then you've got the bed, which the one that I've used is from the Snowy Escape expansion pack. And then again, very minimal decorations. I placed down a computer desk, but purposely didn't place down a laptop or a computer on it. I'm thinking if you do want to get your Sims to visit here and they are coming on holiday, you could just bring their laptop with them if your Sims do have a laptop, or some Sims might have a tablet. Must admit, I never get my Sims to own laptops or tablets, but I mean, you might always get your Sims to have them. The only time I ever get my Sims to have a laptop is if they're like a university student or if they're a freelancer, because I like the idea of your Sims going to a little cafe and like getting a cup of coffee and like working on their exams or something. But that is besides the point. But I left the computer desk completely empty, so if you want to visit here on vacation and bring a laptop, there is somewhere for your Sims to work off. But now moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs area, and this is more like the true master suite of this rental property. So in here, you can see the way that I've drawn the wall, and I've kind of made it so there's a bit of dead space behind where the main bed would sit. I did this on purpose because basically, coming into furnishing this room, I knew that I wanted the bed area to be very luxurious, I wanted it to be very fancy, and I wanted to do this trick by merging in a plain sign and then also these like wooden wall decorations. But if you place them down and then you go into half walls up, half walls down mode, where this is an interior wall and not an exterior wall, all the decorations will disappear, and I didn't want that idea. I wanted you to be able to see it in gameplay. And so the way that I did the floor plan, I made it so eventually, and I did it off camera, but behind that little space, I blocked it off the platform. That way, when you're in gameplay, you can still see all the decorations. It does take away a little bit of space in this room, but to be honest, I'm not really that bothered about it. The room itself was big enough, and it's got 2 walk-in wardrobes either side of when you're walking through the bedroom doors. Oh, and also, by the way, on the upstairs bedrooms, apart from the kids' rooms, all of the different bedrooms have 2 doors leading into them, and they kind of go to either side of the bed. So I'm thinking like you've got your Sim and their partner, and they can both walk in through their individual doors. It just felt fancy to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like something that a rich person would have. It's so unnecessary, but it just made it feel a little bit more elegant in a way. But by the initial doors into that bedroom, I placed down some walk-in wardrobes. But now you can see I've now moved over and I've come in and decorated another one of the bedrooms. So in here, I decided to use this bed that we got from the Horse Ranch expansion pack. I was a little bit funny about using it to start off with, because you can see I also placed down this pretend rug on the floor. I say pretend rug, it looks like a rug. It's meant to be a blanket that your Sims can woohoo on, but I placed down the cow like skin bed, or cow skin, you know what I mean, like this animal print bed, and then I placed down a rug which is quite literally got a bear's head on the end of it, and I felt a little bit uneasy about it, and so I did decide to select that rug in that room. I do use it in the build, but I use it on the downstairs portion. But in terms of the bedrooms, like I said, there is 5, and where I'm decorating them to be a rental bedroom rather than someone's, like personalised items, I only show you the furnishing for 4 of them. I cut out one of the other like double bedrooms with a double bed in, just because it was quite similar to the one that you just saw me decorate. I didn't use the same bed. I tried to purposely use a different bed in every single bedroom, but I just felt like it was a little bit too repetitive with all the different decorations. But now moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on into the last bedroom in this build, which is the kids' room. Now, like I said, I was more so coming into this build with the idea that your Sim and all of their kind of like young adult or elders, I don't discriminate, but all of their mates would come on holiday, rather it being more of like a family vacation area. Of course, if you wanted to, you could bring the family, but the way that I decorated it, A lot of the different items, to be honest, in The Sims 4 are very much like young adult focused, or like adult or elder focused. We don't really have that many different gameplay items for kids. We have a few, but we don't have too much. And yeah, when I was building, I was just more so imagining your sim and their mates would come on a winter holiday, and yeah, this is where they could potentially stay. But then when I was furnishing, I was thinking, well, it might be quite handy just to have a kids room, just in case. You maybe someone downloads this build off the gallery and they don't know that I was more so decorating it to be for young adults, and they get their sims to come on vacation here and they're stuck in the mud and there's no like kids toys or anything. Of course you could always just like re-add them back in, but just in case, I thought I'll just add some like kid decorations and some kid activities. And so all of the kid related stuff is tied to this room, but I mean, they've got a doll's house, they've got a kid's toy box, and they also have a big teddy bear. The one that I've used is meant to be Bigfoot, but it's just something for them to interact with. Of course, they can also use like the hot tub, the swimming pool, but all like the kid focused activities are just in that room. But again, also, if you want to download this build and you decide that you don't want there to be a kids room, you could just completely delete it. I didn't place down a crib or like a toddler bed in there, but again, if you want to, you can definitely add one in. But now moving over, you can see that I'm now just coming in and finishing up the upstairs portion by decorating this hallway. Normally I don't keep hallways in, but I don't know, I felt like this was maybe like the fourth or fifth different entertainment room in this house. Honestly, there are so many different areas where your sims can sit down on a sofa, light the fireplace, read a book, go on their phone, do whatever they fancy, because there are so many different seating areas. But for this hallway space, it was just so big, and it just kind of like filled it out quite nicely. I placed down 2 love seats. The ones that I've used are from the City Living expansion pack, and then a matching armchair. Popped down a little rug on the floor, as well as a fireplace. And then on the other side of the wall, I didn't do it when I was furnishing because to be honest, I completely missed it, but I do also add in a bookcase. But now moving on, as you can see, I've now moved downstairs into technically the basement, but it's actually on paper the first floor. I'm currently coming in and decorating the gym. So where this build on the lower level was just so massive, I had so much space to work with when it came around to figuring out the floor plan, and I thought I would be quite fancy in a way and make it so there is almost like a heavy lifting weight section to the gym, and then kind of like a cardio section. I say fancy, I feel like this is just quite common in gyms, but normally in my Sims gyms, I say that actually, I think in my most recent gym build, it wasn't actually a gym build, I built a country club, Hampton style, in the world of Brinton Bay, but in that build I did a very similar thing. But yeah, I just feel like sometimes in gyms you would have a weightlifting section and then a cardio section, or at least the gyms that I've been in before, and the gym that I've got a membership to, it's that kind of situation. Like you walk in through the doors and then you have all of like the weight stuff, the leg stuff, the arm stuff, and then you go upstairs and you've got like treadmills and step machines and row machines and stuff. And so where I just had space for it, I just thought I would do it in this build. But yeah, I placed down 2 weight machines, one like sparring thing, and then also some dumbbells in the weightlifting section. And then you walk through an archway. I placed down 2 treadmills, a boxing bag, and then you walk in for a set of double doors, and then you would have just seen I decorated a little yoga studio. It's quite short and sweet in there, but I placed down a yoga instructor's mat and then 4 other yoga mats. And in gameplay, if you want to, when your sims are on holiday, they can hire a yoga instructor to come and teach them a yoga class or something. But now you can see I've now moved on. I've started coming in and decorating, honestly, just a bit of a changing room. This is right by the hot springs, and with the onsen bathhouse slot type, if ever you get your sims to visit there, you'll notice that your sims, if they don't have a shower before they pop into the hot springs, they'll get an uncomfortable moodlet. But then also, they would make the hot springs dirty, like it would just go all minging and just it goes all gross. And so I knew that I wanted there to be kind of like a changing room section in this build, but then also kind of like a little shower section, so before your sims that do pop into the hot springs, they can just kind of like freshen up beforehand. You go through the changing room doors and you kind of have like this little shower section. I will say there is some more shower rooms downstairs. I decided to cut them out because quite literally when I say shower rooms, they're tiny. They're actually just behind this little sauna that I've just placed, but they're quite literally just rooms with a shower in. They ain't got a toilet, they ain't got a sink, it's literally just a shower room. I also did it because it's quite close to the gym, and I'm thinking weightlifting, you might get a bit sweaty. So I placed down some more showers by the little weightlifting section of the gym, or like the cardio section as well. It's just by the gym, but there is multiple different showers in this build downstairs. But I wanted to make sure that your Sims, if they want to pop into the hot springs, then yeah, they can just freshen up beforehand. But also with the changing room, it's something that I did want to mention. I noticed with the storage lockers that I placed down into that room, your Sims could change into their swimwear. It's kind of like one of the default options, but they can't change into a towel. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world, but there is a spa in this build. You can see that I've now moved over and I've started decorating the very short and sweet spa. But I say spa, it's just somewhere where your Sims can hire a massage therapist. And also the chair that I've placed down, I realised when I actually hired a massage therapist when I was playtesting this build, my Sim couldn't get their nails done. I think your Sims have to have it listed as a spa to be able to get like their nails or a pedicure or like a hand massage or something. And so that massage chair that I placed down, in the end it just ends up being a bit of an armchair. But I decided to keep it in the build because I like the aesthetic of it. But yeah, where I was thinking that this could kind of act like a bit of a spa, I wanted there to be the option for your Sims to be able to change into a towel in the changing room. But yeah, unfortunately, just the way that the lockers, I think, are programmed, they're meant to be ones that your Sims change into their swimwear. So from the changing room, your Sim could pop into their bikini and off they go to the hot springs, make sure they shower beforehand. But yeah, they couldn't change into a towel, but I didn't want to change them out. It's a very like obscure thing to mention, but it's just something that I noticed in gameplay. But yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world. At least they can change into their swimwear before they go into the hot springs. And it is directly next to the hot springs, so that does make a little bit more sense. But either way, besides the point, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on and I'm just decorating some hallways. Honestly, there's nothing really to write home about in these hallways, but this is probably the most cluttered area in the whole entire build, just this one little side table area. And I don't even feel like this is cluttered. But again, when I was decorating, I was thinking this is a rental, probably not very likely that you're going to have random like photo frames and stuff. And so yeah, I tried to keep the clutter to be a bit minimal in this build. But this side table area where I placed down two almost like brown looking marble side tables is definitely the most cluttered space. I placed down some books, a statue of someone's head, I think also a little bowl of what I was imagining to be like cotton balls or something. I don't know, they just look like they're really fluffy and it's just nice for decoration, I think. But then also like a random tissue box or something, but it was just nothing to write home about, but it was just the most cluttered space in this whole entire build. But either way, moving on. As you can see, I've now moved on into one of the last entertainment rooms in this build. Now in here, again, it's just somewhere for your Sims to sit down, read a book, have a glass of wine, maybe have a coffee, have a chit chat with their friends, go on their phone or something. It's a bit of an entertainment area, but then it's also a little bit of a seating area. Now, you know when I said I was playtesting this build, I run into two minor problems and it's like not the worst thing in the world. When I was playtesting this, for some reason, shortly you're going to see, I'm going to add in a 2-tile bar into the more like diagonal section of this room. And for the life of me, I could not get my Sim to use this bar. Hopefully it's not too confusing because it's currently not on the screen. I haven't placed it down yet. But in this room, I placed down these 2 3-seater sofas. I then placed down this rug, which is meant to be like a bear. Tried to use it upstairs. Didn't like the way it was looking with like the cow print. It was just looking a little bit too much animal in that room. I thought I want to still use it in this build somewhere, so I used it down here. But yeah, I placed down this 2-tile bar in kind of like this more diagonal bit. For the life of me, could not get this to work. Don't know why. I thought at first maybe it's the rug. The rug is technically meant to be something that your Sims can woohoo on, you know, as an activity. So I thought I'll move the rug away, see if it's the problem. The rug wasn't the problem, and so I thought, okay, well, maybe the bar stools are a little bit too close to something. I then moved the bar onto, you see where I placed down the bubble blower and I placed down 2 little armchairs? I moved the bar over there and then moved the bubble blower in replacement of where I initially placed down the bar. And again, my Sims couldn't use the bubble blower. For some reason, that little diagonal section of that downstairs like area room situation, my Sims couldn't interfere with the objects, like they wouldn't interact with it. But weirdly, I deleted the bar in the end and I thought, I'm going to place down the dance floor, see if that could work. I placed down the dance floor where I placed down that 2-tile bar, and even though my Sim couldn't interact with the bubble blower and couldn't interact with the bar, for some reason they can have a little boogie. So I don't know what that is, but I deleted that extra bar. To be honest, this build has got plenty of them, so I don't feel like you're really missing out on anything. But yeah, I decided to make that room into pretty much a bit of a dancing room. There is a radio station in there, and also a dance floor and a bubble bar. But now moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on into one of the last areas of this build, which is the hot springs. So in here, I placed down the actual hot springs object, which is from the Snowy Escape expansion pack, and then I also placed down 3 sun loungers, or like 3 lounge chairs. To be honest, it's a little bit pointless in a way because your Sims cannot catch a tan. They're technically in the basement, but I like it for like the relaxation idea of it. But I then also placed down like a little plant in the corner, as well as a radio in that room. But now you can see I've now moved on into the last room of this build. It's actually the last building, and this is on the outside area, just by where like the swimming pool and the hot tub is. Initially, when I was doing the outside furnishings, I could not for the life of me think what I was going to put onto the inside of this room. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to decorate it last. In the end, I ended up placing down the dining room table that we got from the Snowy Escape expansion pack, the ones where your Sims will sit on them pillows on the floor. I also placed down a little hot pot in the centre, as well as a tea storage decoration on one side of the wall, as well as a tea making set in another. But other than that, I'm going to go around this room, finish it off, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or if you search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.